Hello and welcome back to the Dropback NFL show here on Brit Ballin. I'm Sam Lewis and joined, as ever it seems, by Matt Burns Peak. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, Sammy. How's it going, man?
It's going good. We got a really good slate. Week 7 seems like the slate of games we've seen, but that doesn't mean we can't get a good show out of it. Because, if we want repetition, we've got this again.
Oh, brilliant.
To Miami, insider John McClain, not the diehard one, but the Houston Chronicle, reported that apparently a trade is not quite imminent, but may happen by the end of the week between the Houston Texans and your Miami Dolphins.
Yay, brilliant. What a crock of shit, to be honest. Like to put it lightly, I really am so sick of this rumor. Like the Watson to the Dolphins rumor seems to have been going for ages. It's died down a few times, and then something will come out like this. Like, I don't know if it's a slow news day in Houston or something, and then they're like, do you know what we haven't spoken about in a while? What's it going
to been Dolphins? 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, there's like a new record for them. But honestly, I don't believe this. I know, it is coming from apparently someone that, John McClain, who's been around the Texans organization for a while, is in the know with the Texans organization. I don't envy him for having to be in that position, but apparently it's a good source, but I still just don't. I think there's so many different factors here that are up in the air that it's not viable for any team, let alone the Dolphins, to try and make a move on that.
Yeah, it is a good source, but it does say something that every time these rumors sort of break, it's coming from the Texans organization rather than anyone else in the league. It's almost like they're trying to drive the price up, because as soon as the Dolphins were mentioned, then the Broncos are also involved in a trade to make this happen, and the Dolphins have also been Texans have also been speaking to the Eagles and the Panthers again, the same 4 teams that keep getting recycled.
Exactly. And now I saw some things come in as well that maybe Washington are going to be involved in a 3-team trade between the Texans, Dolphins, and them. And it's like, come on, this isn't the NBA. That sort of stuff doesn't really happen in the NFL. And I think I just think this situation is so volatile. There are so many things that we don't know that have such a massive impact, and the sort of trade capital that is being talked about here. I don't know if it was this article meticulously, but there was a quote of 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks being what the Texans are expecting.
That seems to be the asking price throughout the entire process.
I don't know what planet they live on, honestly. If that is very seriously being talked about from all sides as the realistic capital for this, then I think everyone needs to have a sit down and just rethink.
Do you think everything? If it does happen, is that Chris Greer panicking about his job?
100%. Yeah. I said this to you earlier, Lou. I feel like this is a move. This is a Chris Greer move to save Chris Greer. I think his personnel decisions over the last 6 to 8 months have been crap, to be honest. If you look at the moves that Miami made this offseason, I'll give you an example of the O-line. The O-line that Miami started with in the offseason, we added a number of pieces to it. We then subsequently got rid of a lot of those pieces who have gone on to be playing and starting when other NFL teams are playing well, while the Miami O-line has been a constant source of problem for the team. You go back to, the Will Fuller thing as well. You sign him to a 1-year deal, and then what we've seen, catch 2 passes, I think.
Is he injured, or is he just...
Oh, he's injured again. Yeah, no, he's injured again. Will Fuller, when he's healthy, he's a good receiver, but he's healthy for 3 games a year.
To be fair, it's a 1-year contract, so in a year now that doesn't even matter at all for the Dolphins. All right, so taking out all the really troublesome stuff with Desean Watson that we're not going to get into, because we have none of the facts to even pretend to talk about that topic. If he was coming to Miami, is a plug-and-play guy, even for that value, does that make sense for the picks that you'd give up for him?
No.
Does that make the Dolphins better for the next 5 years? Because
he's a great player, right? And my instinctive reaction is to say no. But then I also look at, this is a move that if it pulls off and it works, saves Chris Greer's job. And then I look at Chris Greer's drafting history over the last few years, and I think, actually, would we have gotten better value if we'd kept those picks and let Chris Greer choose people rather than just getting something that you know is going to work in Desean Watson? So I mean, maybe in that unique circumstance, maybe it's not a terrible deal, but I still just feel like that is an eye-watering amount of draft capital to give up on a team that's got so many holes.
That's what I was going to say. You've mentioned already the O-line issues. Like, if you don't have first and second rounders for the next 2 to 3 years, I don't know how you expect to fix that O-line without getting extremely lucky. Picking guys in the 4th and 5th that somehow turn out to be starters year one. It just doesn't happen, especially at that position.
Exactly right. And I mean, and one of my, there's Tua split a lot of opinion in terms of what people think about his ability. My stance on it has kind of always been, you don't know, because he spends most of his time on the deck or with a pass rusher in his face. And at the point that I've made is you could put any quarterback in the league in that situation, and they're not going to be as successful as they could be because of how bad that O-line is. And you take Watson. Watson's had injury problems, right? He's done an ACL. He spent time with his ribs. That's a guy who hasn't got a clean bill of health, and has
got kicked in the eye at one point as well.
Did get kicked in the eye. Like, he spent a lot of time getting beaten up in Houston. Like, it proves that you can't just put a great quarterback behind a shit line and expect miracles.
Yeah, it would be funny, though, to see the Miami Dolphins and the Houston Texans just alternate between sending a star player to one team in exchange for a huge bounty, completely missing on all those picks.
Exactly.
And then we see in 4 years' time, Miami, the great receiver that they sent to Houston in exchange for 2 first-round picks and stuff like that. Just keep going back and forth between two really well-run teams right now.
Yeah,
for Houston, it makes sense. At this point, you just basically get whatever you can for Watson, right?
Yeah, you have to, right?
Because he's never playing for them again.
No, regardless of what comes of the obviously the investigation and all that side of things, like, the relationship between Watson and the Houston Texans as a football player is over anyway. I think he made that abundantly clear, and I think the Texans have sort of come to terms with that now. So they need to get something from him, otherwise.
Especially because he hasn't shown any sort of hesitation or going back to doing training and that sort of thing throughout the season. He's
absolutely not
pretty steadfast, and he's not suspended or anything yet or on the exempt list. No. So you got to wonder if this move does happen. It's the Miami Dolphins basically throwing in the towel for this year, and being because I assume as soon as he goes on the team that he's going to get played on, he gets stuck on the commissioner's exempt list until
because of
the case against him is sorted one way or the other. But the Dolphins don't even have this bounty available because they don't have their own first round pick next year. So do they suggest they're going to have to trade away some of their players?
And I mean,
to get the first round picks, send them to Houston, then they've got less building blocks
and less
no way to replace them.
It's just a slippery slope, man. And how teams that are bad but trying to are in the middle of a rebuild, as the Dolphins keep trying to say that they're in the middle of a rebuild. You can't rebuild when you get rid of your star players. If you go and you trade Javen Howard, for example, to get some draft capital, you can then send straight to the Texans. You're going to have to come back and address that corner problem at some point as well. You're just kicking the can further down the road, and making the rebuild take longer. And
it's just bad process repeatedly by the Dolphins team. Because if you look at the Jalen Waddle trade, trading down and then trading back up with Philadelphia Eagles, sending a first round pick in next year's draft to get Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle could be a very good player, but I don't think he's ever going to be worth 2 first round picks, especially when you could have probably got Devonta Smith if he'd stayed put anyway.
This is the thing, right? I feel like with that one, the Dolphins kind of psyched themselves out. Like I said, there were 2 or 3 different options at receiver with Waddle and Smith, that you could have stayed put and gotten a very good receiver regardless. I think that panic of Waddle's the guy.
We've got a first round to play. We've got a first round to play with now because we've got San Francisco. Just keep the 2 first rounds.
Never have a first round to play with. That's never how you can look at it. First round picks are so valuable. You can look at the stats. You can break down the stats of boom to bust ratio for picks and how it goes down by round.
Yeah, but not even having one doesn't even give you the boom option.
No, it's just bust. And I mean, it's that was I think that was a silly decision. Not because I really like Jalen Waddle. I think he's been really good. But
that's not like Jalen Waddle. He could be a very good player, but the fact is trading
to do it
exactly. And it's almost like it's a move that you make when you're one piece away from being a contender. And the Dolphins roster, even when they were 10-6, were you 11-5 last year? either round. Like, they weren't a team that was one playmaker away from being competitive.
No, and I do feel like the Dolphins, and this is where it kind of circles back to Chris Greer, right? This is all about Chris Greer. This is all about Chris Greer keeping his job, because I genuinely believe in the off season, Chris Greer and Brian Flores as well, because he has a huge say in personnel. I genuinely think they did think they were a piece away or a couple of pieces away from being I think they thought the playoffs was a definite, and I think they thought with the right couple of pieces in, they could go, not contender, but they could be competitive at the back end of the season. And it was just a huge whiff in terms of their opinions on players and their actual ability and what we've seen on tape. I 100%. I think the Dolphins are shocked right now. I think they didn't expect to be in this situation.
Yeah, and especially because, like, if you believe you're a contender, then why are you getting rid of players like Van Noy, who is a good player to have around? It's like, yeah, he's got a big contract, but if you're in the championship picture, it doesn't really matter as much if you're spending a bit more on a veteran that knows what he's doing in that system. Especially how bad you've been against the run this year.
Yeah,
is that hubris from Brian Flores, thinking that his scheme can just do that?
It's a great word, but I don't know. I think with Van Noy, the Dolphins are really high on Van Ginkel at outside linebacker, and as well as Vince Beagle as well, who should be coming off of a nasty injury and should be able to be playing again soon. I generally think they thought, we can use this cap space that we can save by getting rid of Van Noy on another receiver or another weapon, and we'll get the same production. But they don't think they factor into account the leadership quality, the experience, like that side of things at all. And they've put a lot on young players' shoulders with what has turned out to be quite a shoddy coaching staff. So when you don't have that veteran presence that know what they're doing and can galvanize a team and can, be that voice, and your coaches aren't good, then you're in trouble.
Yeah. Sad times for my dad. It's just some weird decisions, though, isn't it? It's really weird to look at. But moving on to two winning franchises now, surprisingly so, with 4-2 Bengals in our first Week 7 match. And we told you it wasn't a great slate of games. So this is one. But traveling to the AFC rival Baltimore Ravens, who are 5-1. Bengals defense surprisingly been good this year.
That was weird. We don't think either of us really expected that, to be honest. Maybe talking about Brian Flores and Chris Greer, like massively underdoing how good players are, or having unrealistic expectations of players' ability. Like, maybe we massively whiffed on the Bengals because their defense, as you said, has been pretty strong this season, and that was an area that we both thought would be a real weakness for them going into the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the most surprising part on that defense has been Chidobe Awuzie, who, when you at Dallas feel that they don't need you at quarterback, granted they've got Diggs now, who seems to be playing out his mind, but they didn't know that coming into the season. And he comes in and plays like a proper NFL starter. Like, that was a huge boost for the safety, the secondary, especially when you've got Bates still there in the secondary, who looks continually awesome.
Real player.
But they've been good against the run, good against the pass as well. I'm really impressive from this Bengals defense.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, completely didn't expect it. That I did sort of fear the worst when he got released from the Cowboys, because it's like you said, at that moment in time, the Cowboys were not good on the secondary. If you're a quarterback being released by the Cowboys last season, then it's not a good sign. But he's been really good for the Bengals, and as you said, that whole defense has just played a lot better than anybody thought they would. To be honest, even the most diehard Bengals fan, I think, was probably kind of worried about that going into the season. But I've been very pleasantly surprised. I do think this is going to be tough for them, though. This matchup
especially
is harsh.
Their linebackers have played well, but they are young, and so prone to a little bit of miscommunication at times. And if there's one team you don't want your linebackers being miscommunicative against, it's the Baltimore Ravens rushing attack.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, I can just see the Ravens putting in so many misdirections, so many read options, so many of those plays getting the linebackers flowing one way and then putting the play back the other direction. Because, like you said, they're young. They've played very instinctively, the linebackers for the Bengals up until now, I feel. And that is just something that the Ravens will key into so badly with their rushing attack.
Yeah. What I would I am interested to see if this is a closer game, a bit more Rashad Bateman made his comeback debut last week. And if you just look at the stat line, you think, oh, he didn't really do much. He only had I think 3 catches and 4 targets for 30 odd yards or something like that. Yeah. But I think part of that was game plan because they were up huge very early on, so just running the ball, and the Chargers couldn't stop them on the ground, so why bother throwing it? But the times that they did go to Bateman was early on in third down positions, so they clearly have a lot of faith in him, despite missing a lot of practice and a large percentage of the preseason as well.
Yeah, I mean, that must be really encouraging if you're... I mean, I know Joe, for one, is super excited about Bateman. I think a lot of Ravens fans are. And the reliability aspect that he brings, obviously, Marquise Brown was the last receiver they took in the first round, has had his moments, but has also had a hell of a lot of drops and missed time through injury. So there's a real hope in Baltimore that Bateman's going to be that go-to guy in those sort of situations. Like you said, those third downs, he's going to be consistent and reliable with his hands, and they're going to get a lot out of him. So that was a real sign, I think, of where they used him last week. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a lot more of it this week as well.
Yeah, especially because they can move him all around the formation. He's when he was at college in Minnesota, he's basically playing slot half the time, just playing RPO balls. So I mean, that fits him pretty nicely to what the Ravens like to do on offense. Exactly. So I mean, we'll get to it later, but if Bateman hasn't been picked up in your fantasy team, stats wise, it wasn't encouraging last week, so someone may have dropped them. So if he's available, now is the time to pick him up because he won't be after the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, snap him up. Up.
Right, the other side of the ball, the Baltimore defense against the Bengals offense. The Bengals offense, the O-line hasn't been completely useless, which is a step up from last year. I mean, they haven't been good. They haven't been good, but they haven't been 5 turnstiles.
Exactly. And I mean, I think we're finally starting to get to see more of Burrow doing what he does best, which is not getting beaten up and actually throwing the football and throwing the exact same touchdown to Jamar Chase that he seems to do every single week.
It's getting more ridiculous every single week.
So strange.
It was against Packers, wasn't it? Where Stokes swiped it. It looked to go through his arms for 60-yard.
It's like a cheat code in a game. Honestly, it's so bizarre. We'll key in for that this week as well. That quite fast but not breakneck speed fade route from Jamar Chase and Burrow just putting it straight in his hands over the corner.
He never gets any separation either. He just seems to sort of go. And then by the time the ball's there, he's somehow got 5 yards just despite running in a straight line.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I also don't understand how corners haven't bailed out and given him in those situations, haven't just given him 5 or 6 yards of space and then key into his movement and drop back from there, because he's clearly faster than they're expecting, right? If this keeps happening. But yeah, I mean, it's just been bizarre. But I mean, credit to Burrow, credit to Chase. Remember, he was getting all those stupid people being can't catch the ball in preseason.
Yeah. I mean, didn't help himself with the comments he made, but still.
Yeah, that was dumb. He will learn from that, because there is a certain amount of don't put a target on your own back, especially when you're a professional American football player. But yeah, I mean, I'm quite excited to see the Bengals offense, to be honest, which seems weird saying over the last few years, but it's starting to become quite multifaceted. Obviously, they've got Joe Mixon, and then receiver wise, there is a real connection there.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the Baltimore Ravens defense, 2 weeks ago in the Colts, they played a hell of a lot of zone, which is strange for them because they're usually a man-to-man team. Went back to that against the Chargers, man-to-man, that is. I was oh yeah, that's why all your DBs play this, because you're much better at it.
Because it works, right? And
because their linebackers have they were getting absolutely ruined in zone coverage, especially on play action.
And I kind of felt sorry for them, because that's not what they're there for. That's not how they're best utilized. The whole playbook is sort of more about how they use the linebackers going downhill. As soon as you drop them into coverage, creates a weakness in the team. Didn't need to do.
Or have them drop into cover, attack downhill, because that's what they were still doing, because they're used to that, and then having to roll out when they're not used to that.
No, it was just a bit of a mess. It seemed like it was quite. It almost felt like something that they wanted to experiment with, and then worked out fairly quickly that it wasn't worth the experiment. And it was a resounding no for doing that in the future. So yeah, no surprise that they went back to the man look that suited them so well previously with the Chargers, and obviously you hold Justin Herbert to 6 points, like clearly works. Just keep doing it, to be honest.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the Bengals deal with that sort of cover zero, send fucking everyone else, because that's what we do, and we'll live by that or we'll fucking die by that.
Yeah.
Because they like to go into a lot of empty themselves and then sort of have the tight ends chip and then roll out. So it'd be interesting to see if they can keep all of those Ravens off Joe Burrow for just long enough for him to heave it downfield for Jamar Chase.
I mean, I think they'll score. I think the Bengals will put up a few points. I'm still leaning Ravens, but I think the Bengals offense will be okay.
You're leaning Ravens. What about this 6.5 point? Do you think the Bengals can cover that?
I don't know.
They took the Packers to overtime.
They did. Let's go. Yes. You know, they're a young team. They've played some really good football this year. Maybe the Ravens coming off a win that they probably didn't expect to win that convincingly. There's always the worry that, or the chance that there's a bit of complacency there. So yeah, maybe the Bengals make it close and cover the spread.
Okay. I mean, they're pretty evenish against the spread this year, so we'll see what happens there. And I agree, by the way, Ravens to win, Bengals to probably cover the spread there.
Nice.
Jesus Christ, this is where we're at now. Titans, though, coming off a surprise win.
What even are the Titans?
They did beat the Bills, so maybe they're good, or maybe Derrick Henry is just literally the best running back we have ever seen, because he's getting more impressive every week.
It's stupid, isn't it?
And the Titans' defense actually sort of played well against the Bills.
It was one of the where was this team in the Jets game? Like, honestly, it's the mind. I'd hate to be a Titans fan right now. Although actually, it was probably.
Would you? I mean, considering the team you support right now, would you hate to be a Titans fan?
Yeah, I mean, at least
they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, that is true. But I mean, it must be so weird. Like, you literally have no idea what you're going to get from the team each week. They've been so up and down, so inconsistent. The only consistent thing has been Derrick Henry absolutely pounding the shit out of the entire league on the ground. I think I saw a stat where he was traveling at 21 miles an hour or something.
Yeah, he was. I think it was the fastest ball carrier this year in the NFL.
Yeah,
which that should never be Derrick Henry.
There was also
like shame on you if you're a 5'10" slot receiver.
Jakeem Grant, what are you doing? Like,
has he had the ball in his hand this year?
Probably not. He's always injured. He's rubbish and he drops it. But like, I think he's also like the biggest man in terms of weight to ever travel at that speed in the NFL. That was something ridiculous as well.
Yeah, I mean, that would not surprise me. He's a freak.
He's just ridiculous, isn't he? So, I mean, I think if I'm the Chiefs, I'm quite worried about this. Like,
I mean, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm worried about every single thing that anyone can do on offense, but especially Derrick Henry.
Especially Derrick Henry, man. This matchup is so good for Derrick Henry to just run all over the Chiefs.
Yeah. Chiefs defense did play better last week. Like, they had some young guys in, but you just don't know if it's a 1 week thing where they get fired up or it's actually turning of a corner. But they stopped playing. They stopped playing Sorensen on the back end. He just doesn't have the pace for it anymore. Juan Thornhill had a decent game.
I was really surprised that they kept doing that to Sorensen. I almost felt bad.
It's just mean, isn't it?
It's never been what he's good at. There's never been Sorensen's game, like playing him in the back end in coverage. Like, he was good as a special teams like contributor, and it'll come down to thump someone in the run game. Like, that is Sorensen. Cool.
He's that nickel safety kind of guy, isn't he?
Exactly. So why would you drop him back into coverage so much and then be shocked when it doesn't work? Like, you know this player. Like, shouldn't be a surprise to you.
And I get you've got Tyrann Mathieu and you want to do more exciting stuff with him, but at some point you're just going to be like, right, you're going to have to be the post guy because Sorensen just can't do it anymore.
Yeah. And like, I'm all like, it's all well and good trying to get your special players into situations to make plays, but sometimes you just need your special players to be good and do a job as it needs to be done. Like, Miami went through a phase of that, of just trying to get James Howard in opportunities for interceptions and stuff like that, and dropping him into different looks. And it was like, we just let him do his job.
It makes him look fantastic, but it ruins the rest of the defense.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? But I'm really worried about the Chiefs right now, and I know they're coming off a win, and the whole narrative's been like, oh, the Chiefs will be fine. But I think it is starting to get to the point now where it's like, yeah, but will they be fine?
Yeah, I'm starting to agree with you a little bit.
Because the defense has gotten a lot worse than it was last year, and the offense isn't scoring points or being as consistent.
They're technically still the best offense in the in the league.
Yeah, I mean, compared to last season, obviously there's fucking Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill and stuff. They're going to score points, but they haven't. We've seen a lot of turnovers and uncharacteristic
that's what
mistakes.
It is, isn't it? It's turnovers. Yeah,
it's consistency in play. Whereas before they could just be like, "Oh, defense had a wobble, and we've given up 40 points, but the offense put up 42, so it's fine."
Yeah. I feel they've been more consistent in actually driving the ball, but it's worse at turnovers.
Yeah,
like it's less 3 of outs from them. Yeah, in scoring territory as well. Like it was the Chargers game, wasn't it? Where did it go to overtime? The Chargers scored in the last minute, something like that.
They scored before it went to overtime.
Scored, then they had the Hail Mary
right
at the end.
Take it, to overtime.
But 3 of their 4 turnovers in that game came in scoring range, like easy scoring range as well, like comfortable field goals.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to use this term because I think the connotations that it has across different sports, but it's almost like they're like choking when it gets to like game, like very big moments in a game. Like they've just come up short, or they've made uncharacteristic errors when it's like this play is going to have a big impact on where this game goes. So I am starting to get a bit worried about the Chiefs, and I think this matchup in particular, I can see
they don't have 2 corners that could, like, if Julio and Brown are healthy now, which is a big if for this Titans team now, they don't have 2 corners that can cover those guys.
No, they don't,
and stack the box still against Derrick Henry.
I was going to say, and they sure as fuck don't have anyone that can stop that man running through them. Like, Chris Jones is great and everything, but like he's one man, and we've seen teams put everyone on Derrick Henry, and that running game is still good enough. And he's still talented enough to find a way. And it's just one of those, isn't it? I can see the Titans having some long scoring drives that take a lot of time off the clock, and the Chiefs not being careful with the football. And those turnovers are going to be costly in that sort of game.
Do you know what this Chiefs team reminds me of a little bit? Sort of that prime Drew Brees era New Orleans Saints, where they always had great offenses. Like he would throw from 5,000 yards every single season, up their top 5 offense every single year. But the defense couldn't do shit, and so they never won. They never won the division consistently. Like that was the NFC South was one that no one ever won 2 years in a row.
Exactly.
Until the Saints, funnily enough, invested in defense.
Then it started to work, right? Like it's one of those where it's all well and good putting up loads of points, but if your point differential is still that close to the oppo, and you're just giving up a shitload as well, it basically comes down to who blinks first or who makes a mistake in a critical moment first. And the Chiefs, for whatever reason this season, have made so many critical mistakes that have cost them games. We've seen it almost not every week, but like most weeks this season, the Chiefs have coughed up a big mistake that's almost cost them a game or has cost them a game. And that's why I'm worried about the Titans, because the Titans can just milk that clock and make this a really short game, and those mistakes count for double in those situations.
I mean, the Derrick Henry stats are just unbelievable this year. I think Nick Chubb is the number 2 running back, and I saw he's closer in yards to number 27 than he is to Derrick Henry right now. And Derrick Henry, if you split his yardage like before contact and after contact, he's number 1 and 2 rushers.
Wow. I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? Like, unbelievable.
And that was against the Bills defense is really good this year.
That has been good and has actually been decent against the run as well. That's an area that they've definitely improved on this season. And we've spoken about previously, like we've been quite surprised that they've been able to generate as much defense and as much, positive plays on defense as they have. And then, Derrick Henry just sort of stormed in and ruined it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's that one, and then the damn burst after he gets that one big run. It's like, I don't know what you do now, because he just gets better every single time he carries the ball.
Yeah, he's just gone, and like he's just one of those players where it hurts to tackle him, but the more you tackle him, the better he gets. And then it's like you get to the fourth quarter, and you're like, well, I don't want to. Everything hurts, and I've got to try and bring him down, and he's just like still absolutely fresh as daisy.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the Chiefs are going to put up points in this game. Like the Titans played a bit better last week against the Bills,
but they're
still not a good defense, and they lost Caleb Farley for the year, torn ACL.
Yeah, I saw that. That's a shame.
Janoris Jenkins just got bullied last game by several different receivers. And I mean, Howard Landry apparently is really good. I hadn't watched a whole lot of him this year, but he was just seemed to be living in the Bills' backfield. But I think, I think that Chiefs O-line's a little bit better than the Bills is.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's weird. Like the Chiefs didn't have Clyde Edwards-Helaire and were running the ball much better last week. Granted, against the Washington football team, who probably one of the worst defenses in the NFL, despite having it doesn't make sense, that one.
Not at all. That was a weird one. Like, obviously, it was a very favorable matchup for the Chiefs. Like, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a weird one. I really thought that this season we'd see some more from him, and he'd really established himself as the guy and as the running back in that backfield. And it's just gone completely the other way. Like, obviously, the costly fumble against the Ravens just continuously doesn't really,
even without the fumbles. Yeah, he just looks like a guy. He doesn't look like a first round pick running back.
No.
Like, if you're picking a running back in the first round, they have to be special.
They've got to be explosive. They've got to give you.
He just hasn't been done that.
Yeah,
and I think the issue is the stuff that he would excel in, which is those short yardage, finding space against zone. It's like you've got Travis Kelce for that.
Yeah, right. They're just gonna they want to drink from the same watering hole in terms of those are the situations and the areas where you get the most use out of them. And yeah, it doesn't work. I feel sorry for him because I feel like maybe on a different team in a different circumstance that he would show those qualities and he would look like a first round talent. But on the Chiefs, it's just not set up to his strengths. Like, he doesn't give them the different dimension out of the backfield that a first round running back needs to. I think
the Chiefs in this Mahomes era have never had a sort of consistent running back. I mean, since Jamal Charles, they haven't had one. I mean, there was that one Super Bowl appearance from Damien Williams when he played great against the 49ers, but that's basically it. Like, there's been no consistency for the ground game.
Yeah, true. And I mean, I wonder if it is just one of those offenses where that's not where they want to lay their hat. Do you know what I mean? Like, they don't want to build off of a bell cow back, which is fine. You know, they've got Travis Kelce, they've got Tyreek Hill, they've got the best thrower of the ball in the NFL, quite possibly. So, like, you can't knock them for it, but it does warrant the question of why they spent a first round pick on Clyde Edwards-Helaire if they're not going to go in that sort of direction.
Yeah, that's the strange part about it. You're right. All right, so final game of the week. We're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here, but we've got a revenge game. Jared Goff.
Yes.
Without a win in a game.
We didn't say who we thought was
going
to win.
No, we didn't. I'm really tempted to go Titans here.
I'm going to go Titans.
I'm definitely taking Titans on the spread.
Yeah, I'm taking Titans here. I can see it.
As soon as we both go Titans, then the Chiefs just destroy them. Because they're because this defense, this secondary is still bad.
I'm gonna do it. I'm jumping on Derrick Henry's back, and he's charging into the end zone to beat the Chiefs. So
you're just rolling on that one sort of resurgence last week from the Chiefs youngsters on defense is just a 1 week thing.
I think it's a one-off. I think you can't stop Derrick Henry, and I think this game is just suited to how the Titans want to play. This is like the last team. This and the Ravens is the last team the Chiefs want to play right now, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I'm probably going to go Titans as well.
Love it.
Not fun.
Revenge.
So as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, Jared Goff, without a win in a game that he hasn't played for Sean McVay. Sean McVay is involved in this game. Does that mean he wins? There's a chance.
Whoa, that's how it works. I mean, in all seriousness, absolutely not. But It is a fun narrative. I don't really know what to make of the whole Sean McVay coming out and basically being like, "Oh, I feel so bad for how I treated the Jared Goff thing."
Oh, do you on game week, Sean? Do you feel that way?
Yeah, sure. Like, please don't hurt me, Jared.
Otherwise, you'd have said that. You'd have said that, mate, when you did it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was all. Yeah. It was very clear that Jared Goff was not going to be the future of the Rams. You just had to watch him play for maybe 5 snaps to work that out.
Yeah, you just had to watch Sean McVay do his Urban Meyer impression every time Jared Goff threw a pick or fumbled.
Like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Hands on his knees.
Yeah. Physically pained by what he's just seen. I mean, it's a fun narrative, right? Maybe Jared Goff absolutely goes off and delivers the Rams a loss. But, I mean, realistically, I think Detroit are probably going to start trending in the right direction towards the end of the season. I still think they're a pretty bad football team right now.
And the Rams are a pretty good football team.
And the Rams are a really good football team. I can only see this going one way. I think even that spread is quite generous. I generally don't know if it'll be that close.
I don't know. I was going to go the other way around. Is because like you have said, these Lions team do play hard and do fight right till the end of the whistle. I mean, 15 is a lot of points for a spread. It's a lot of points. You just need one backdoor cover and you're fine.
Yeah, I suppose so. But I mean, they play hard right to the final whistle, but they're still not very good players right now. Like, they're still not a very good team. And I just think this Rams team is so dominant, especially on offense. Like, Matty Stafford returning home with the offense that he could only dream of while he's in Detroit. I think he's going to put up some big points here. It might seem harsh to Detroit, and maybe they prove me wrong, but I think it will be very convincing win for the Rams at home.
Yeah, I think it went all the way to the end. Then Jared Goff's going to heave one up to who even are their receivers?
To who?
TJ Hawkinson. Let's go TJ Hawkinson. He plays on the Lions. He's actually quite good.
Yeah.
But yeah, huge celebration. It's like that.
Goes over and flips the bird to Sean McVay.
Flips the bird. Rams lose by 14. No, sorry. Lions lose by 14. Lions lose by 14.
By 14. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Bettors everywhere rejoice.
All right. So bring us to sneaky fantasy football tips.
Yes.
For this week. You love this section. Do you want to kick us off then?
I will. I'm going to rip the plaster off straight away. Because I'm once again picking someone because they're playing against Miami and it's Cordell Patterson. I'm going to just keep on.
You just going to keep it. I don't think if anyone's listened to you, he's not still available on waiver wise.
I'm going to keep on hammering this Cordell Patterson thing until the wheels fall off because he has been really good. He's been like a different player. I think previously we've seen him be quite hot and cold and then get injured, but right now he's not injured and is consistently playing really well. And Miami suck. Like, we suck against running backs. We've been really bad against running backs all season. And we've been really, really partial to giving up a massive play on defense, both of which are straight in Cordell Patterson's wheelhouse. He can beat you on the ground, and we know he's a great threat through the air as well. I don't see there's any way where Cordell Patterson doesn't have maybe a touchdown, maybe a couple, and quite a lot of yards against a Miami defense, which is struggling massively. So that's my first one.
Okay, I'm trying to think of players that aren't going to be like on rosters, because some of those that people like maybe would question like losing faith in. Miles Sanders, I think, will have a good game against the Raiders because that Raiders rush defense has not been fantastic. So if you're losing faith, it's like a last ditch attempt at Miles Sanders and Calvin Ridley. If neither of these guys perform for you this week, then they're not going to this season. This is basically it for those two.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, you don't get friendlier matchups. The Dolphins don't have any corners right now. And they love playing man-to-man. So if Calvin Ridley can't do something against that defense, he's not going to this year.
Yeah.
Couple that could sit Sterling Shepard, I think, is probably going to be the Giants' number one receiver. So he could. Who are the Giants playing again? I think I had him penciled in, but then I forgot to write down who they were actually playing. Carolina. Oh,
they are playing Carolina.
No, let's hold fire on that because
they've activated Stephen
Gilmore is active again. So forget I said Sterling Shepard. All right, I've got a question for you then.
Yeah.
Do you risk Dearness Johnson tonight? They've got Case Keenum playing.
That is the question.
Because they don't have Baker Mayfield.
That is the question. I've seen that.
So they're going to run the ball.
Forums about that.
They're probably going to pass to him a lot as well because he's a good pass catcher. No Kareem Hunt, no Nick Chubb. So it seems like a good matchup.
Yeah, and it's also.
But then that Broncos defense has been a good rush defense. But do you just go right volume? He's got a good enough floor. He's got a good enough floor that'll be fine.
I think he does. I think the way the Cleveland offense works anyway, it's super reliant on the run. So you have to think that there'll be some sort of continuity with that, and possibly accentuated by the fact that it is Case Keenum and not Baker Mayfield in. So like you've got your second string quarterback in. Naturally, that means you favor the run game a bit more, and you're a bit more conservative with the way you call it. Which, like I said, I think it is just probably going to be a question of volume for Johnson.
What do you reckon the Browns do in terms of like if Case Keenum plays well? Like, I'm not saying like they'll go with him for the future, but if he like is 2017 Case Keenum when he was with Kevin Stefanski, like do they go Baker just go have surgery? Like,
well, that's
they
a
do
real
with that
decision
point?
Then. Like if Case Keenum, this is actually a fantastic opportunity for Case Keenum. Like, as someone who has had previous starter level experience in the NFL, like this is a gift from heaven in terms of an opportunity. Because like you said, if he balls out, and he gives the Browns a reason to think that they can still be productive with him, and there's not going to be that huge a gap between the production with him and the production with Mayfield, then they have to make the decision for the longevity of Mayfield as the franchise guy to go and let him have surgery. It has to be, that has to be the decision, right? Because you can't.
And then Case Keenum's a career backup for the rest of his life. Like, his job is sorted forever. If he plays well in a pinch here.
Exactly. Or he might even sneak a starting job next season, depending on where the chips fall.
Anyone that's going now at Case Keenum as starting quarterback, I think, is making a mistake there.
There's some
what he is at this point. He'll play well for a few weeks, but he's not.
Telling me the Broncos wouldn't flirt with Case Keenum if he put together a nice stretch at the end of this year.
Yes, I am. That's absolutely what I'm telling you.
Okay.
Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
Could be another one.
Quite like that, to be fair.
Because they're playing the 49ers, who look bad on that back end.
Indeed.
And T.Y. Hilton and Paris Campbell both sort of a bit banged up. Seems to have a good connection with Carson Wentz, so that could be a sneaky play. Have you got any more?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I think Damien Harris against the Jets. I'm sort of wailing on AFC's defenses here, but again, the Jets have not been good against the run. That's a surefire one. I would also maybe sneak in Lev Bell against the Bengals, to be honest. Like, Latavius Murray.
Take control of that.
I think so. I mean, there's rumors that I think Latavius Murray's either been confirmed as injured, or has put in a couple of did not practices this week in training. I mean, Lev Bell got some action last week. He's trending upwards. I would say that it's worth a pinch. The Bengals defense has been decent, but we've just been saying about how the Ravens will prey on the misdirection of the linebackers, and they could have a bit of a day here on the ground. I think Lev Bell gets more carries. I think Lev Bell maybe even ends up in the end zone. I think he's a player that they want to try and start getting involved in more, and this is a good opportunity to start with it. The other one, this is more of because I'd almost guarantee he's rostered in every league. But someone to target as a trade, I think you've got to really make a strong move for Dallas Goedert. If I'm honest, I think coming off the COVID list, not just this week, but in general, like Zach Ertz is out of town now. He was starting to get the volume of receptions and targets even with Zach Ertz, and now he is the bona fide, no questions asked, number one target in that offense. Like, he's got a good rapport, I think, with Jalen Hurts too. He is going to be someone that you want to target on the trade, and he will reap big rewards.
Yeah, I mean, I've got actually a few tight ends, just like sort of volume guys, because tight ends are ridiculously dumb position to try and predict in fantasy football. Yeah. Like, you'll get guys, they'll do nothing for weeks, and randomly they'll get like 20 points because of a touchdown for 60 yards. Like, I don't know where that came from. But cheers, mate. Thanks for being on my team. But if you're Dalton Schultz has been one of the best fantasy football players this year. Cowboys on a bye week, so you're gonna have someone coming in. Ricky Seals-Jones for the Washington football team. Now Logan Thomas is out. They love the tight ends there. The other one, Zach Ertz.
In Arizona. In a new home, why not?
Now Max Williams is out for the year. Like, he's been not prolific, but at least a steady floor kind of guy. In Arizona.
That's a good situation. That's a really good situation for Zach Ertz to step into.
So those would be my first. I think Ricky Seals-Jones would be my first choice, and then you've got Tyler Higbee probably is available. Like, their backup tight end's injured now. He runs routes basically on every drop back. He's got like 94% of drop backs he's running a route on, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, get on it.
And he's playing the Lions this week. So I don't think anyone's still rostering Tyler Higbee, but if you are, then you've lucked into that one there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then it's the guy that won me one fantasy football matchup last year because I was like, right, Browns are bad against tight ends. And then he instantly tore his Achilles after that. But it's CJ Azuma. Joe Burrow has a really nice relationship with, it seems. So I think any one of those guys, they're all going to get you like 5 to 6 points, which is basically what you in non-PPR, which is basically what you need from your tight end. Just so they don't.
If you can get that sort of steady production from the tight end, then you'll be all right over the season, I think.
Yeah, because unless you have an elite one, like that's what you want to hit as a floor. Because otherwise, you put your guy in who's going to get like one catch, 20 yards.
It's just
that does nothing to me.
You're not helping me, pal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think there's a good lock them in. I really think Lev Bell's a play this week. I know I've already mentioned it, but I'm generally excited. I think he'll do something. I'm prepared for any hate that comes my way if he's subsequently rubbish. But I'm just saying, watch that space.
All right, absolutely. So was that all your guys done?
That's all my guys. I was always going to mention Darrell Henderson, but I think that's quite an obvious start. Like,
I think he's
you
in
want to
everyone's
start
team now, isn't he?
And you also want to start any.
I think you should start Pat Mahomes as well.
Yeah, probably should.
Yeah, if we're going, Derrick Henry's a good one.
Derrick Henry's a decent one to start. Yeah.
Right. So now that because we're playing each other in fantasy this week, are we both going to get up and just pick up everyone that we've just said right now?
I'm gonna fucking try.
How about throw you some curveballs, just try and make you pick up some absolute shite.
Yeah. I think Jakeem Grant on the Bears is really poised to have a good game, Slew, if you want to make a move there. No, but in seriousness, guys, me and Slew are in absolute fantasy hell right now because basically all of our team are on buys. So
yeah, well, because you can't drop your good players on buys because they get picked up.
Yeah, people steal them. It's not good. Need more bench spots.
Well, I mean, I could just do that.
Oh yeah, that'd be abusing the commission of power.
It'd be somewhat abuse of power, wouldn't it?
But yeah, I mean, if you just do it for us two, then I'm way okay with that. I won't say anything. Yeah, and neither will the listeners and the viewers.
No. Speak of which, hi Brad, thanks for listening. We do appreciate that, but I think it probably is all we do have time for today. Yeah, unless you've got any sneaky predictions to add. No. All right. Well, make sure you follow us on all our socials. It's the Dropback, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, thedropback.com for articles, all that sort of stuff. Thanks for Britballing for giving this platform to speak on. That we just spout absolute nonsense on, but it's fun. And if it helps you win your fantasy matchup, big win. But I've been Sam.
I've been Matt.
Until next time.